everyone, welcome back to Blooms and Bicycles, and hope you're all having a lovely time during this festive period. With Christmas Day now past, our attention shifts forward to the New Year's celebrations and all that these traditions have come to represent. During the less hectic part of this holiday period, opportunities for moments of quiet contemplation now arise. Offering a chance to recalibrate, we now look back and reflect on the year just gone, which has now become, quite literally, Auld Lang Syne. Expressing the essence of these famed Scottish hogmanay parties, this 18th century poem now reverberates around the world to the sounds of bagpipes as the clocks consecutively strike midnight. This is a point in time that now feels just as full of promise for the future as it does of wisdom from our pasts. And just like the checks of the iconic Scottish tartans, we now think about the rich tapestries of our own lives, which for all the surprises and eclectic experiences, inevitably become more colourful and intricate the further into our own journeys we go. Woven into the social fabric of these iconic traditional checks, centuries of British history are wrapped up in stories of Borderland families, Highland watchtowers and fortified castles with that mystical Gaelic culture that these tartans have now come to stand for. Taking inspiration from this beautiful country that we have to thank for our New Year's Eve celebrations, a wide array of multicoloured winter floristry is brought together through lots of velvet texture flowers in crimsons and creams. Then accompanied by the sapphire-blue winter berries, cross-sections of blooms in deep magentas, bright greens with splashes of yellow run throughout each design. So why not replace the festive cheer of the Christmas tree with a tartan-esque flower bouquet from what we bring to you today, the Tartan Tidings flower collection. In today's tutorial, we'll be sharing with you how to construct the Tartan Tidings medium letterbox flowers. Our water vessel is already prepared. However, if you would like to learn how to look after your flowers to get the best out of them, you can find the link in the description box below to our flower care video. So to make a start, as we always do, we'll take the strongest and most sturdy of stems, which in this collection are the Viburnum Blackberries, this beautiful variety of Conifer, which has leaves that almost form like a coral and then lead on very nicely to the shape of the red Celosia flowers which are to come, and also the beloved Thistle. So to begin with, we will add the Viburnum Blackberries and we'll add them off to the right. And then taking our Conifer, which has a natural lean with this particular stem, so to take advantage of that, we'll lean this off to the left, just by hooking it over the opening of the vessel. Working to the advantage of each flower stem's features always helps create a very natural looking design. Going with the flow of Mother Nature, I suppose. And now to add our Thistle, which is a naturally long and quite straight stem, is perfectly positioned towards the back. So weaving it in between the Viburnum and Conifer offshoots, we'll just get it to a point where it naturally sits upright. And now to take our splashes of yellow from the Solidago, we'll then add this cluster of yellow fairly low down in comparison to what other flower stem heights will be, and position this in the centre. Positioning the Solidago low down in the central area of the display actually also helps build out the grid, because the offshoots of this flower can also help other flowers remain in the position that you want them to be later on. And now to take our Robusta, which quite nicely fills the void at the back of the display, also helping to build out that natural fan shape. And now to take our velvet textured flowers, which are in this display, 3 stems of the Pussy Willow, and this beautiful variety of red Celosia. So I think in this display we will actually separate out each stem of Pussy Willow and create a triangle formation. However, you can always leave them just as a cluster and position them off to one side. Again, just whatever you prefer. And always making sure stems are positioned at varying heights. Always offers those different points of interest to keep the eye moving throughout the display. So taking away any unnecessary leaves, as we always do, we'll position this beautiful pop of red colour right in the middle. So that actually is sat just a bit high in comparison to the thistle. So we'll lower the height of the stem, weaving it in between the Solidago, and drop it so that it sits amongst the yellow flowers, and therefore offering some beautiful contrast. And now that that Celosia has found its own home, it might just be worth repositioning any other stems, such as this pussy willow. And now to take our other two red stems, which is this beautiful red Ranunculus, which contrasts perfectly against this light violet colour in the thistle, and these beautiful red rosebuds, which are a dried stem, so they don't have to sit in the water at all. If you choose to just wedge them in between some of the branches in the grid, you can just have this sitting above the opening of the vase if you like. So given how the red Celosia is positioned low down and off to the left and front of the display, to counterbalance that now, we'll add the red Ranunculus off to the back at the right. So again, just finding a space in between the branches of the viburnum, making use of our grid to give that support. We'll now add in our final piece of red to build out a triangle. And now to take the purple stems in this design, which are this beautiful deep purple anemone and these gorgeous eustomas, which have a very similar violet tone at the very base of the flower cup on the outside, making the outside of these flowers just as eye-catching as what's in the centre. And what is really nice as well is that these eustomas offer graduation into the deeper tones of the anemone, as well as the lighter tones of this carnation to come. So to start with, we'll add in our eustoma, which can be added as one piece if you wish. However, in this design, we're going to trim away the different stems and threading these in, just so they sit quite wildly. We'll trim away any leaves that are unnecessary, because maybe they're under the water or just not going to be visible in the design. So therefore no need to leave them on, because they will just take in water, which could otherwise go straight to the flower head, as we talk about in our flower care video. And again, just being mindful to make sure that flower heads are never positioned when close together at the same height. Always making sure there is a difference to create that distinction. So it might just be a case of trial and error, but that's part of the fun. And you don't have to be as fussy as this, but sometimes in your mind's eye you might just know exactly where you want something to be. So weaving in between the conifer, this next piece of eustoma, this looks like it needs to be trimmed down a whole lot more, given the fact it's going towards the very front. So the closer to the front, the shorter the stem needs to be to get that fan shape. And then the closer to the back, the more you want to use the taller, longer stems to create that height and distinction again. And now to see where to place this final piece of eustoma. This is now being positioned in the central area, given there is a distribution already off to the left and the right, as well as at the very front. And now to come in with our anemone, which has opened up as we've been filming You can see how the light passes through these petals, and in real life they're gorgeous. It's a very exciting time of year for flowers. And so with the anemone, the stems do grow in quite a wild way, and so making sure you take full advantage of that wild shape, which offers a lovely quirk to the design. Making sure that the stem is as visible as the flower head itself is just a nice feature to really play on. And now to add our piece of white, which is this gorgeous garden rose. With there being one, placing this in the central area will help with that balance. And now to take our splash of green. Like the accents of green you'll find in the Royal Stewart Tartan. Again, making the most of the long stem, we'll position this towards the back to fill that final void. And now that we've added that in, what's become quite apparent is the fact that this carnation probably just needs trimming down slightly, so it's relative still to the rest of the flowers in the display. Now to add that back in, we'll ensure that the chrysanthemum sits to the right of the carnation, given the Robusta leaves offer a splash of green off to the left of it, if it will stay in place. So just to take one final look, so we could just maybe lower this Eustoma so it sits more relative to the height of the conifer. And I think we're thereabouts. So just as a final touch, if you're a book fan, you can always take one off your bookshelf, which complements the colours of your display, and use it to mount your vase. And there we have it, the Tartan Tidings medium letterbox flowers. Hope you have a lovely new year, and we can't wait to see you back in February for the Valentine's collection. See you soon.